Welcome to Dirt Crossroads, where we will explore what it means to be a young person living in rural America, along with rural values, well being, and what it means to live a life well lived. Dirt Crossroads is brought to you by Rural Youth Catalyst. I'm Kathleen Moxon.
And I'm Kim Finney, and we are the co-founders of Royal Youth Catalyst.
In this limited series entitled Right to Flourish, we'll be talking to members of the working group and hearing their perspectives on what it means to center well-being and the right of every young person to flourish. I'd like to introduce our guest today, Carla Ocadiz. She is currently the Education Equity Specialist at La Union del Pueblo Entero, better known as Lupe, in the Rio Grande Valley of South Texas. She's the instructor and organizer for Lupe's college readiness program, Ocadiz Se Puede, in which she helps undocumented and low-income and first-generation high school seniors navigate their way to college. Carla, I probably didn't do justice to the introduction of Lupe or yourself, and maybe you could just talk a little bit about the genesis of Lupe and your current work.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you
Yes.
here.
So Lupe was founded by labor rights activists Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. We mainly focus on helping build stronger and healthier communities in the colonias. So if anyone listening doesn't know what a colonia is a rural neighborhood by the U.S.-Mexico border that basically lacks basic infrastructure. So Lupe organizes residents of colonias to really use the power of civic engagement to get lighting, drainage, safety, whatever they need for to improve their living situation. Yes, I am the coordinator instructor of our college access program, Al Colegio Si Se Puede, and I mainly focus on getting information and resources out to both students, parents, and then also counselors so that everyone here in the Rio Grande Valley know that undocumented students can attend college and that they can also receive financial aid.
Carla, we've been giant, like, I don't know if it's quite right to say fans of Lupe, but we have been definitely, we have so appreciated getting to work with Lupe through the years, and have incredible respect for the work that you are doing and building out with young people. So tell us, why is it so important right now, so critical, in fact, that we focus our work around well-being and equity and well-being for rural young people, particularly when we think about it in the context of the young people in your community that you are working with?
Um, I believe that when we invest in the well-being and equity of young people, not only does it benefit them individually, but it also benefits society as a whole. I think that when we create solutions and systems that ensure that everyone's specific needs are being met, we are ensuring and fostering that we're fostering an inclusive environment in
Mhm.
which diverse perspectives and talents can flourish.
Mm,
Great. We've been
it's
talking, and you've
gorgeous.
been part of the National Working Group, and we've been talking about these 9 domains that Bhutan created, and we've been thinking about how those might be similar to ones that we'd use. How has the focus on the 9 domains of well-being already changed what you're doing?
Last time that we met in person was last November, and I came back to work with, after learning about the 9 domains, I came back to work with a whole new perspective. And I mainly serve undocumented young folks. And so, as an undocumented person myself, as a documented person, I've always known that being undocumented affects every aspect of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so after learning about the 9 domains, I came back and I was like, college access is very important. It's fundamental work, but it's also not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I spent most of this year dreaming and coming up with a solution for that. And so we here at Lupe decided to create another youth program, which is an extension of Al Colegio Si Se Puede. And so this youth program is for young undocumented adults, and it's keeping while I was developing the program, I kept the 9 domains in mind, and so the program is really not about overcoming your status because that can be complex and difficult to do with our broken immigration system,
Mm-hmm.
but it's about how to live a happy, healthy, and you know life as an undocumented person. And so, yeah, the 9 domains really put a lot of things into perspective. Um, Not only it helped me question, like, what is it that the young folks that I serve need, and how can I help them?
Yeah.
And so this extension of Al Colegio was really born from that.
It's
You're
great to hear.
kind of like sending chills up and down my spine, Carla. And I think bringing both of us a little bit to the verge of tears to hear this, because I think for us, and just resonating what you're saying, like one of the most powerful things about the framework of well being, right? And the idea of these 9 domains, not just as learning how all these pieces are intersected, but so often we think of it as, and systems change is essential, right? We all, everyone, the working group, our focus is systems change, but it's also incredibly radical to be able to say to young people, you can take control over your happiness, right? And I don't mean that in a fluff sandwich kind of way, right? But in exactly what you're talking, like, you know, the trauma, the fear, the isolation, all the pieces that go, the larger system of, becoming documented, like you said, but the ability to still hold a framework and think about what you need day in and day out, and to still say, you have a right to flourish even in the face of these conditions, right? So it's just incredibly exciting what you're doing. Thank you.
I got goosebumps.
So, Carla, different people have described this focus of the working group on sort of this 9 domain well being model as revolutionary. Do you think it's revolutionary? And if so, why?
Yes, I think that a lot of traditional methods are centered on singular aspects of well-being or center around a short-term fix. And this approach acknowledges other intersections that affect individuals' life. And so, with centering that, I think that we are seeking and working towards long-term impact.
I love that way of looking at it. We really do think about how do we create a national group that brings together many different, in sometimes fairly specific perspectives, working with very specific populations for very specific reasons. But when we come to the table together, we are really trying to break down those silos and think collectively about how we move the needle from where we are now to this more holistic view. Kim, do you have any parting thoughts?
No, I just want to say a huge thank you. I guess I would ask one question, uh, which is, and it may be too soon in the working group, but You're a visionary, Carla. Lupe is built on visionaries, and activists and organizers. So if you could, just off the top of your head, what would be your sort of wildest hope and dream and vision for this work that we're just beginning as a working group?
Well, um, honestly, it's a very simple answer, and an answer that I think has already been spoken, but just have young people flourish and be happy. And that's our main goal.
I think that's a perfectly good goal.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for being with us, Carla.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you've been listening to Crossroads, brought to you by Rural Youth Catalyst. This is part of our Right to Flourish series. Today we talked with Carla Ocadiz from Lupe, and hope you'll tune in for future podcasts featuring other members of the Rural Youth Wellbeing Working Group.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you.